grifters, we 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 grifters.
Shape the emerging UAP narrative. Remember those words, folks. Shape the emerging UAP narrative. Remember those words, folks.
I'm an intel guy. 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 I'm an intel guy.
We grifters, 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 we grifters.
Multiple whistleblowers. Multiple whistleblowers. Multiple whistleblowers. Multiple whistleblowers.
We grifters, we grifters.
Remember those words.
We grifters, we grifters.
Remember those words.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes. Say yes.
What do you have to say to people who say, well, if this is leaked footage, you know, this is people trying to get out their own agenda. This isn't necessarily credible. What do you have to say to people who say, well, if this is leaked footage, you know, this is people trying to get out their own agenda. This isn't necessarily credible.
Set the scene for us here. Those appear to be flares, kind of in a triangle shape. Do you think that that could be what these Marines saw? Set the scene for us here. From the Marines, did they ever try to file a report with the government? Real quick, set the scene for us here.
Yeah, so this happened back in 2021, and I thought it was flares.
Jeremy Corbell.
Hey, man, great to see you. Thank you. There is something in the sky over the desert here in California. Something, again, I guess you have to call it a UFO. Because I don't know what this is we're looking at. It is definitely weird, but earlier this week, Jeremy Corbell, who we've had on the show, where he's going to be joining us in just a moment.
And George Knapp.
From the Marines, did they ever try to file a report with the government? Yes, that was the problem. We weren't getting information.
She saw this standing on two legs, a wolf creature, a wolf standing in her yard, its paws crossed like this, leaning on a tree, staring back at her.
They come down this dirt road one night and they see two figures, humanoid-looking figures standing up with their backs to the road and looked like they were smoking cigarettes. They had trench coats on. Smoking cigarettes, standing out on the road. These guys figure, what are these fellas up to? So they're pulling up and they're shining their lights on the guys, and they turn around and they were dogs.
I remember when I was a kid and I used to think, I love UFOs, and maybe when I'm older, I can make videos about the stories other people make up about UFOs, and then, you know, make money. What a career. Wow. What? I never took people's money for nothing. I mean, next you'll be comparing me to Dr. Stephen Greer.
Greetings and salutations, friends. My two favorite UFO grifting scumballs are back after their tremendous failure to provide any evidence of a lot of what they were promising people for quite some time. And the stunning AARO report, which refutes most of their BS that they have been shoveling and pushing for quite some time now. But before we begin tonight's major presentation, we've reached another wonderful milestone in just one of the many completely fake, evidence-free stories that George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell have monetized. Remember, you got to monetize your curiosity and make as much money as possible from stupid people with evidence-free claims. And that would be that David Grusch, we've hit another milestone here, friends. 330 days making huge claims and zero evidence has been shown so far. Now, I also want to make an announcement. I have no patience left for stupid people. So if you're one of the many multitude of idiots that just repeat fake UFO grifter talking points. Remember, I always say this, these people are not telling you stories, they're selling you stories. And if you're one of those individuals that is incredibly stupid enough to just constantly repeat the false UFO grifter scammer talking points, remember, those fake talking points and fake facts are coming from the people selling you the fake stories. So I'm not going to argue on people that are still pushing the fake false talking points. Well, all his evidence about the aliens and the UFOs to the intelligence community inspector general, the intelligence community inspector general is not investigating any of Grusch's alien or UFO claims. Full stop. They released a statement confirming that. That is a false talking point of the scumbag lying grifters that have sold this evidence-free story for 30 days. And it is after that stunning AARO report, more or less confirming that most of the people that Grusch is getting his information from have no evidence. Suddenly, the Grift Squad wants to pivot away from Dave Grusch and pivot to other things. And I suppose Mr. Corbell and Mr. Knapp needed to do what we commonly call the Cosmic Con Shuffle. And that is, when you get caught selling a completely and totally evidence-free fake story and it all starts coming crashing down, what you got to do is shuffle off for a little while. It's called the Cosmic Con Shuffle. You got to hide, right? Lay low and hope that everybody forgets that you are a grifting, scamming clown who just got caught selling yet another fake story. And let's be clear, how many fake stories has Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp been caught in? There is the wonderful Skinwalker scam, which George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell sold. And then on an episode of Joe Rogan, George Knapp, even though he promised that the book was based on all kinds of evidence, years and years of collected evidence, he had to admit, oh, there is no evidence. We just have stories, spooky stories. That's all he has. It's wonderful. So those guys have shuffled off for quite some time. I suppose they needed time to formulate new excuses for why they got caught selling another fake story in the form of Dave Grusch. They were big pushers and supporters of this evidence-free story. And I ask you, even people who desperately want to believe that this is all real, it's 330 days now. And Dave Grusch has not proven any of his claims, none of them. And George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell and Ross Coulthard and Leslie Keane and all the other people that sold this evidence-free fake story of a former mental patient who also happens to be a high-ranking intelligence officer. There's been no evidence for 330 days now. So maybe that's not a provably 100% fake story, the Dave Grusch story, but it's a worthless story because it is an evidence-free story that has absolutely no evidence despite all of the out-of-this-world claims. You got to love it, friends. And back to my new rule. Listen, thorough, very clear. So When you come at me with something stupid, like saying, no, Stephen, the Intelligence Community Inspector General found Dave Grusch's claims to be urgent and credible, then you are a victim of a cult that is lying to you. They're lying to you. And I hate to keep repeating myself, but I feel like I have to, because so many of you idiots are still sending me the urgent, incredible lie. The urgent incredible was referring to Dave Grusch's claims of waste, fraud, and abuse and claims of reprisals. They take all claims of waste, fraud, and abuse or claims of reprisals to be urgent and credible. But the scammy, scummy grifters who were selling Dave Grusch's story took those words, what it really meant. Claims of waste, fraud, and abuse are urgent and credible. Claims of reprisals are urgent and credible, and we take all claims like that to be urgent and credible. And especially after all, Inspector General's job. Let's take that quote and just push it over here and make it seem like the Intelligence Community Inspector General said that Dave Grusch's alien and UFO claims were urgent and credible. That's what they did. They fucking lied to you. Don't repeat a lie, especially when it's a verifiably proven lie. The Intelligence Community Inspector General never characterized Dave Grusch's alien or UFO claims as either urgent or credible. And the Intelligence Community Inspector General is not investigating Dave Grusch's alien or UFO claims. Full stop. They're not. So I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. You know what? Fuck you, idiot cult member, Kool-Aid drinking asshole. I'm not wasting my time educating you. The information to support everything I just said is publicly available. It's on my previous shows. And I know how dumb you are. And I just had one of these dummies earlier tonight. So I'm not watching your shitty show, Stephen. Okay. Then live in your delusional fantasy world where the people that are lying to you are somehow heroes. When in your life has someone provably lied to you and they remained a hero? But welcome to clown world. This is where we're at. We're in clown world where I'm so fascinated by stuff like these two. Knapp and Jeremy Corbell have provably lied to everyone, selling multiple fake stories multiple times each and multiple times together. Sometimes they sell fake stories separately. Sometimes they sell fake stories together. But one thing that they have in common is they both sell fake, evidence-free, spooky stories that they never prove are true and they never prove are real. Kind of like when they pushed a completely and totally fake scientist that was a convicted pimp and pretended he was a real government employee. He wasn't. They can't prove he ever worked for the government. He was a technician at a very prestigious lab. The real scientists, you know, a keyboard, a coffee on it, or they'll run a network to a server or a real performing real. He was never a real scientist. And further, he could have never stepped foot on Area 51 because he was bankrupt and he had a convicted murderer wife with very strong ties to organized crime. So they sold us the Bob Lazar. They sold us the Skinwalker scam, claiming they had reams of evidence. But when pressed on Joe Rogan, even George Knapp had to admit, all we have is stories. We don't have any evidence. We lied about the evidence to sell the story. I'm fascinated. And then they get caught selling fake pyramid UFOs. No, it wasn't pyramid UFOs or spaceships. It was drones and stars viewed through a bokeh lens. It was a camera artifact. They hyped it up as something alien or extraordinary. And to this day, Jeremy Corbell still won't admit, even though he's been corrected by multiple very scientific-minded people that was a bokeh effect. He won't admit that was a fake story. Doubles down. Then, of course, there's the alien giant pyramid spaceship, or I'm sorry, giant triangle spaceship. It was flares dropped during a military exercise. They claimed they did that. They investigated that story for 2 years, but they somehow didn't know about the military exercises dropping flares right in the area of the UFO sighting after 2 years of intensive research and other journalists helping them. But somehow online sleuths and debunkers got to the truth of that case in 5 minutes after they released it. 5 minutes, it was debunked. So these people have been caught provably selling fake stories over and over and over and over again. I'm wondering how they still have an audience. Like how many, I always ask this question. In your own personal or family life or professional life, work life, whatever, throughout your life, how many times do you let someone provably lie to you before you say, I'm not listening to this lying scumbag anymore? This person is a lying scumbag and I've had enough, right? But this is why the world of UFOs is clown shoes, clown world, because you can literally be caught selling completely and totally fake stories about aliens over and over and over and over and over again, and you still have a following. You still have a significant online presence. You still have a career that you can make from stupid people. Because apparently the stupid people that consume these stories don't fact check anything, don't expect any evidence because you never get any. So I guess after a while you just get to know, like, well, we're never going to get proof of this, but boy, it gets my disclosure boner rock hard. So I like these guys. It's a self-licking ice cream cone. These guys lie to true believers, pretending they have proof or evidence. They never do, and rinse and repeat the cycle. That's how this works. And of course, I'm gonna go con shuffle. I think most people are wising up to the fact that the Dave Grusch story is a complete nothing burger. Nothing will come from Dave Grusch's claims because Dave Grusch has no evidence. And unfortunately, in the real world, not in the clown world, you have to have evidence or no one cares. Only in clown UFO world can you keep getting caught selling completely and totally evidence-free fake stories, and even some of the stories be, called out that you intentionally. And people ask me, are these guys doing this on purpose? Well, look at the money that they're making. Both Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp live millionaire lifestyles. I know for a fact that Jeremy Corbell owns $1 million property, and so does George Knapp. So it's very lucrative. Lying to people is profitable, friends. Imagine that. Lying for a living is profitable. And there's never any consequences to getting caught lying. So they just keep going. That's how this all works. I want to take a moment to welcome in the live chat. We've already got 3 very generous people here. Imagine that. We're a viewer-supported show, and we appreciate your support. We have Matthew A. with a kind and generous $2.99 super chat. Say they got cocky with the Grusch grift and got checked. I can't say I disagree with you. Thank you, Matthew A., for helping us to praise the cash. Mega City Media. I don't even know what AED is, but there's 10 of them. Thank you very much. We are an international show, and we have international supporters. People, no matter what money you use, you can hit that money button down there. Don't you want to make a Stephen Campion smile? We're praising the cash very good. Mega City Media says it's not aliens, it's NHI. You can't prove us wrong. Okay, prove that there is non-human intelligence. What is your best evidence? I'm up for a debate. Especially a respectful debate. I'd love to talk to somebody respectfully. I love that they're arguing between themselves, says Mega City Media, with another kind, generous 10 AED, whatever that is. If somebody knows, let me know. I'm just going to find out now. It's because it's going to bug me. I don't know what AED is. Is that United Arab Emirates money? Well, that is very interesting. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support from the United Arab Emirates. I think that might be dirham. That might be the first time we've gotten money from the United Arab Emirates, and we thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support very much, both you and Matthew A. Early, generous, and kind supporters. We thank you for helping us, of course, to praise the cash. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. All right, we thank you guys. And we'll take a moment to welcome in the live chat. for those that have asked, we still don't have the Rumble feed up. And there's a very simple reason for that. And that is, after several years on Rumble, we haven't been able to pass the $50 threshold you need to make in order to get paid. So I just don't see a value in Rumble, to be very honest with you, other than as a backup channel. Maybe I'll let that be a backup channel, but I'm not going to put significant time or resources into a platform which pays us nothing for the value that we provide. We have uploaded or live streamed hundreds and hundreds of videos to Rumble, and we've gotten exactly 0. So I'm sorry, but fuck Rumble right in their eyes until they want to start paying content creators a fair amount. I get that maybe they can't afford to pay what YouTube pays, but they can, for hundreds and hundreds of videos, and I think we've gotten tens of thousands of views on Rumble, maybe more, maybe 100,000 views. We got paid nothing. We can't even hit the $50 threshold. What are they paying? 0.0000000000000, add 20 more zeros, 1 cent. You know, are they giving us like a trillionth of a penny for every view? Like, how does this work? Yeah, so we want to thank Chuck Bam. Said bandwidth alert, $2 for a cable. I thought that the bandwidth is fine. I'm getting like 50 upload, more than that, 70 upload, 100 download or something if I run a speed test, Chuck Bam. But someday, just to appease people like you, I am going to go through the trouble of running, a cable straight to the router. But we thank you for your generosity and support.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
All right. And then we have Mega City Media said, you misunderstood. They keep shifting the goal points. Oh, okay. All right. So you were being sarcastic with your previous comment, Mega City Media. Thank you for that. We appreciate you, and thank you for helping us, of course, to praise the cat.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
Friends, we're going to get right into this. So they released this video today. I'm going to put my fair use banner up because, of course, this is fair use. It's a transformative work. We're educating the public and critiquing the video we're sharing. I have just mirrored the video so that we don't have to sit through ads. They load their shit up with so many ads. It's ridiculous. I don't want to try to do commentary with ads playing every 5 minutes. So we have mirrored their latest episode of Weaponized, which they really should call Monetized after all. I have just queued it up a little bit because Mr. Corbell uses copyrighted music, so we have to fast forward it past there. I always wonder about George Knapp. Like, what is this room that he streams in? Is this like, here's my boxes of shit? I bet you that there's shit in all those. There's like, maybe he's like one of those weird hoarders that saves bottles of his own piss and bottles of shit. Or boxes of shit. I don't know why you would stream with in an office with just boxes and boxes of shit behind you, but here we are. So this is a transformative work. We're going to get right into it. Just a little preview. They've had to take some time to figure out how they're going to explain away the AARO situation. And so what they're going to do is they're going to lie, obfuscate, and claim cover-up, which is exactly what I predicted that they would do. Funny that all they have done is claim cover-up. When you get caught selling completely and totally fake stories that you'll never prove are real, blame the men in black or claim cover-up. It's from the Grifter Playbook 101. But let's get into this, friends. We're going to try to make it through the whole video here.
Corleone edition. Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. You know, we've been quiet for a while. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, you've been quiet for a while because they're trying to figure out. They've been quiet for a while because they're trying to figure out how to explain away that AARO shot their entire bullshit fake disclosure narrative to shit for complete and total lack of evidence. Now they got to figure out a way to explain that away to their stupid fans that are dumber than dirt.
You know, man, I missed you. You know, there's so much going on in the UFO world. And, you know, sometimes I like to just step back and kind of.
There's nothing going on in the UFO world. Literally nothing new. Well, I guess unless you count this Jason Sands guy, which, by the way, they're going to basically throw under the bus here and say they can't verify his stories, so they're worthless. But interesting, they can't verify Bob Lazar's stories, and they made millions of dollars off of that one. So I don't understand, but okay.
Look at it. But you and I have these talks on like weekends where we're just going over everything, what we think about it. I figured let's record it, man. Let's just put out another Weaponized. We're not in season 2 yet, but let's talk about it.
You know, I haven't engaged a lot on social media on UFO topic, other things, maybe things that I'm interested in, but I've noticed
he hasn't engaged on social media because he had to go run away and hide like a little scared bitch because his fake Grusch narrative came crumbling down under the weight of somebody actually demanding evidence for claims being made.
it's sort of a downward spiral. People are in kind of bummed out since that AARO report came out, since Sean Kirkpatrick took a big dump on all things UFO related.
Yeah, and they're characterizing asking for evidence or explaining that the people going to AARO making extraordinary alien and UFO claims have no evidence. They're calling that taking a dump on it, right? Why do you got to be a Debbie Downer? Why do you got to ask for evidence? Can't we just stay in our delusional faith-based evidence-free belief system?
And people are a little bit demoralized, and they've lost their will to go on. And some of them say they're dropping out, and some have said that they think it's hopeless. And, you know, we've seen this before. You and I have talked about this before. There are always peaks and valleys in this topic. We've been on a roll. You know, the UFO community in general, the topic in general has been on a roll since 2017, since that New York Times story kicked things off and all the other things that have come out as a result of that. It's been mostly a peak.
Yeah, and he's referencing, everything's been great since that 2017 New York Times article, which was all based on lies, half-truths, and deceptions. So, hey, the peak of UFO of UFO talk on the internet got kicked off with a lie-filled fake article in the New York Times written by wackadoo Leslie Keene, who got all the facts in that article wrong. Lou Elizondo never ran a real Pentagon program. That was a lie.
But, you know, this was going to come. It was going to happen.
Oh, yeah. There are peaks and valleys, and you can only grift for so long, George Knapp, you old geezer.
The Dark Empire strikes back.
Oh, it's the Dark Empire because they want evidence of our evidence-free stories, right? They require evidence when they investigate things, unlike these two clowns. You don't need evidence. All you need is something that looks cool that you can sell. Like flares or a bokeh or a missile being fired over, a known war zone.
And tries to dissuade the public, the media, and Congress from taking this seriously. And they did a really good job. I mean, as we talked about, I think in our last episode, the last one of Weaponized, this was a body blow, and it was serious, but it's not.
It was a body blow. And it was serious. The AARO report completely destroyed the completely evidence-free false narrative that these UFO grifting, scamming, scumbag clowns have been selling for how long now? What did you get? You get like 8 months worth of grifting out of the fake Grusch story? Yeah, it was a body blow because it proved that you guys are clowns that just believe anybody.
Not a death blow. It's not the end of everything. It happens. So to people who are demoralized and a little bit out of sorts because of what the government has done in response to all this interest, don't give up. You know, you and I, we were kind of in the same mind frame for a little while, and I needed to take a break.
He needed to take a break because he realized that the gig was up on the grift. They have to take a break when the grift comes crashing down. And make no mistake about it, the Grusch grift has come crashing down. We're at 330 days and still no evidence. There's never going to be any proof or evidence of Grusch's alien and UFO claims. Never. That's my prediction. And by the way, I'd welcome being proven wrong. But I have been, this is not my first rodeo of the Grift Squad, and watching how they deceptively use layer upon layer upon layer of deception and obfuscation to sell an evidence-free fake story. We want to thank Megacedon Media, who said took some time away for a nap. Twice. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. It's much appreciated. Thanks for helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise
All right, and we're going to continue, friends.
It's good to take a break from this once in a while and recharge the batteries. Don't you agree?
Recharge the grift
Yeah,
back.
man. Look,
Yeah.
there's
We gotta-
ebbs and
we gotta
flows
come
with
up
this
with a new
topic,
grift.
and I understand people's frustration. You know, everybody wants everything right now. The truth is, and you've seen this over the decades, there's always these highs and lows of what you can sink your teeth into and kind of dismantle and try to understand. But ultimately, as people say, this is a marathon. It's not a race. It takes time. People need to be patient. They need to have grit. They need to stick with it and be very methodical about kind of how they analyze stuff. It's very clear that the programs that are going on to make people try to drop this subject,
they have no proof of a verified government program to make people drop the subject. He's just talking out his ass.
are strong. You see that with people that come forward and how they're kind of just roasted. So look, man, I think ultimately,
Yeah, sometimes people are roasted with good reason. Like they're making fantastical claims about aliens and UFOs and they have no evidence. Therefore, at least in my view, they deserve a little roasting. If you're going to stand in front of Congress and claim that the government's hiding aliens and UFOs, you better have some goddamn evidence of that. But Grusch didn't. And these two clowns sat right behind him while he told his evidence-free fake stories that they both profited greatly from.
we have to respond to what we know. We need to be able to verify stuff and respond to it. And sometimes there's more info, sometimes there's less. But I suspect, like always, there will be more coming.
Yeah, I mean, even now, which a lot of people out there in the UFO universe think is a down period. There's not much going on. There's a hell of a lot going on. Even in what is perceived as a lull, there's a hell of a lot going on.
Yeah, and a common trait of these grifters is to always promise that new big things are coming. There's always new big things coming.
And that's important. And, don't give up. There's a lot to talk about. There is progress being made. Not all of it is obvious, but we're going to go over some of those items today.
Yeah. We're still moving the ball down the field and all these other fake talking points that they use. And I missed one there from Mega City Media. Didn't George lose his S4 or whatever in boxes? He lost a tape of what he claims is 100% smoking gun proof that element 115 is real. He lost a VHS tape of that somehow. Yes, Mega City Media. And thanks for being a member. And thanks for all the super chats tonight. Thanks for helping us to praise the cash.
Yeah, well, I want to, one of the big things that I saw, drop, and you've had prior knowledge to this, and, this is kind of frustrating, but the Kona Blue UFO program is what people are calling it. I'll just start like this. Kona Blue was a proposed program.
Yes, and the Kona Blue program was a proposed program by the same group of grifters that these two grifters have been profiting from for years now. The same people, James Lukatsky, who is George Knapp's co-author, and Jay Stratton, and Travis Taylor, and Hal Putoff, and all the what Stephen Greenstreet calls the spooky hustlers.
And we got imagery of that proposal. And that the first image was of a Hawaiian beach, right? It was really cool. Well, I got this text from a buddy.
Now he has to name drop somebody from Metallica because he's so important that people from Metallica are asking him about UFO stuff.
Of mine named Kirk, and he sent me an image from the North Shore of Hawaii. And it was that same image. And he was so stoked. He's like, Kona Blue's my backyard, baby. And so that image is from the North Shore of Hawaii. I don't know why they named it Kona Blue. I don't know that anybody we know knows why they named it Kona Blue. But that was a proposed special access program that was supposed to really go forward into studying the UFO phenomenon and associated phenomena.
Yeah,
Can you
I
tell
think
us
they
a
do
little
realize
bit about that? Because
Yeah,
in
Sebastian,
your
great
book,
point. Great point.
that proposal is everything but the name is in your last book with Dr. James Lukatsky and Dr. Colin Kelleher.
Before we go there, your buddy Kirk, who lives on Kona, who is this?
This is okay, you're outing him as a UFO guy. This is Kirk Hammett from Metallica.
Yeah. I think we need to go visit your friend Kirk on Kona and talk some UFOs, don't you? Maybe stay at his house for a week?
Look, he's got great music and great choice in subject matters he's interested in. UFOs. Sorry to out you, Kirk. I don't know if that's bad, but
that's great. That's a funny. You shared that with me. That's a funny message to get.
Corbell.
Kona Blue was just a code name for what would have been a successor to OSAP.
He just keeps
You recall that
nodding.
Robert Bigelow
Yes.
and his company Bass, a subsidiary of his Bigelow Aerospace company, got a contract in 2008 from the Defense Intelligence Agency.
Yes, and now what he's going to forget to tell you is that his spooky friends Bigelow and Hal Putoff and Eric Davis and Com Kelleher, I can never say that guy's name, and others wasted $22 million of government money studying Skinwalker Ranch, which is scammy because Bigelow owned the ranch. So Bigelow somehow gets $22 million from the government to study his own ranch. And people get drunk and tell Bob Bigelow exactly what he wants to hear, spooky stories. They never find any evidence. They have no data whatsoever. They write a bunch of reports on Skinwalker Ranch and $22 million disappears. So is it any wonder that the government wouldn't let them do this new project because they wasted the first $22 million they were given to study paranormal things?
DIA. Dr. James Lukatsky, rocket scientist who had worked for DIA as an intelligence analyst for many years, highly respected, had taken a trip out to see Bigelow, went to Skinwalker Ranch, had an experience there, went back to D.C., engaged with Senator Harry Reid to get support
for a
UFO investigation, and he got it. They authorized $22 million. That's how much the budget was over a period of 27 months. And it was, in my estimation, the best, most honest, farthest reaching UFO program that we know of in the history of the U.S. government. They had 50 full-time investigators. They were really putting it together.
If they had 50 full-time investigators, why can't they show any actual evidence of any of the claims that were made? What we get is spooky stories like I played you in the beginning of the broadcast. Oh, there were smoking dogs. There was wolfmen and dino beavers and a werewolf followed me home and poltergeists followed Eric Davis home. It's so stupid. It's ridiculous.
And it was not only collecting something like 260,000 UFO cases from all over the world, from government databases, etc., put into this data warehouse and analyzed, but they had teams with boots on the ground. They'd send them to places like Skinwalker or places where really strange activities had happened. They created more than 100 highly detailed papers, analysis of all aspects of the UFO mystery, including the medical effects, consequences of people who got too close to these things and suffered as a result. It was ambitious. It was successful, which is...
It wasn't successful. If it was successful, the government would have kept it going. It was a complete and total failure run by a bunch of wackadoos who believed that poltergeists were chasing them home from a spooky ranch in Utah.
Why it had to go. When, as we've reported before, when there was a letter that was sent to the Department of Defense, the Undersecretary, by Senator Harry Reid, the primary sponsor of the OSAP program, in which he asked for DOD to create a special access program, a SAP, turn OSAP into a SAP, so that it was protected from prying eyes, so that...
they wanted to turn it into a special access project so that they could hide what they were doing with the money. That's my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. They didn't want people looking up that they were studying dino beavers on a spooky ranch in Utah from other areas of the government. So they wanted to hide what they were doing. Disclosure and transparency advocates trying to hide what they're using the money that they're supposed to be using. Oh, you gotta love it.
People couldn't rate its budget, so it could do its work in private without a lot of fanfare and get to the bottom of this mystery, or these mysteries, plural. It was great. It was a great proposal. It would have worked, but as soon as that word filtered out, the knives came out. People realized, holy crap, what's going on over there at DIA? We got to put a stop to this. Now, we haven't said a whole lot about this other than...
Yeah, they had to put a stop to it because they realized that a bunch of wackadoos were wasting government funds and resources on, chasing ghosts and poltergeists and werewolves and dino beavers. Oh, my. That's why they put a stop to it. And I love how Knapp spins it, though, right? Oh, they were doing such incredible work. What's going on? They got to put a stop to it. They were a bunch of wackadoos.
Than the interviews that we did on Weaponized with Jim Lukatsky and Colin Kelleher. But, there was interest by some of these aerospace companies, or one in particular, in sharing the goodies.
There's no verifiable proof or evidence of that. That is a claim that the private aerospace companies had alien or exotic technology that they wanted to divest themselves from. You know who that claim came from? Dave Grusch. And Dave Grusch has not proven any of his claims. I love how Knapp says things as if they're completely and totally factually true. And he just forgets to tell you that it's just a claim from a former mental patient wackadoo in the form of Dave Grusch, who for 330 days now has not proven any of his claims, right?
It's astonishing to me. We like to think of those big companies as the bad guys, but there were conversations between Bass and one or more of these major aerospace companies
According
in which
to
there was an
wackadoos.
agreement. They were going to give them some of that stuff.
Where's the
People
where's the
with good
agreement?
memories might recall that as Bigelow was awaiting the completion of the contract with DIA, he did retrofitting of Bigelow Aerospace. He spent more than $1 million of his own money to prepare that plant to get.
This is another claim. Bigelow spent millions of dollars of his own money to prepare that plant to get ready for the taking possession of alien technology. Where's the receipts? Surely if he spent millions of dollars on a facility, there'd be some receipts, George Knapp. You could show us those, right? No. More evidence-free claims. And Steve Long is here. Says endless claims and excuses, never any direct evidence. These people get the government media interested in looking into UFOs and then spin that same interest, which they generated, as the progress we're making. You are correct. And Mega City Media says weaponized dino beavers are the threat, to be honest. Thanks for helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
And I love that this
This
is titled Battle for UFO Truth.
Stuff, materials.
We
all know
these people who keep getting caught lying to everyone and selling completely and totally 100% provably fake stories. They're running the battle for UFO truth. Proven liars. You gotta love the balls on these clowns.
What we're talking about. He anticipated getting it because he'd been told about it. He and his team had been told it's real.
Thanks, Mega City.
You're going to get some because we've had it for a long time and we can't figure it out. That was the premise. Now, they never got the stuff. They never got the goodies. There's been a lot of confusion about that.
That's because the stuff doesn't likely exist. And you're listening to a bunch of wackadoos who are jerking each other off, giving each other disclosure boners, talking about how they almost got to the alien technology goodies, but then they didn't. Funny that.
But they found out it is real. It's out there. Not much progress has been made, and we'd like to take a crack at it. Never happened. Once the plug was pulled in that program, it was over. And it's sad because it was originally going to be a 5-year program, and then they could have extended it. But if it had been allowed to continue, we might have some answers by now.
Yeah, right. Just like we got answers out of the $22 million that they wasted on Skinwalker Ranch, you asshole. But hey, you got to give it to George Knapp. He's fully invested because he's written, 2 books on Skinwalker Ranch, and he's made a lot of money on Skinwalker Ranch, so he can't let it go. He can't tell you the real story behind it, or the Skinwalker scam money may dry up for him.
Because those are some really smart people, and they weren't limited to just military cases, not just UFOs. It's all the other mysteries that are related. Very ambitious scope. Well, once that plug was...
smart people like Jay Stratton and Travis Taylor, who misidentified Chinese drones and balloons because they were too busy looking for aliens. Smart people don't put national security at risk because they believe in aliens like a bunch of idiots with, the spin. I think that Knapp's going to have whiplash by the time he's done trying to spin all this as, it's great news for disclosure. No, it's not. Your whole grift came crashing down, bro.
Was pulled.
Again.
Dr. Lukatsky, Dr. Colin Kelleher, and others started looking for a new home. DIA was not opposed to allowing that to find someplace else. Take it off our plate. If somebody else wants it, great. So they figured out that Department of Homeland Security, which is a relatively new organization back in that time frame, might be the place to go. So Kona Blue documents are now out. We'll talk about the reason I think it was released and made public by AARO, but the documents are now out. But this is a program that we described in great detail in our book, Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. I mean, we explained how they were trying to sell it to DHS, what the response from DHS was, what they were going to do with that program, and then In that same book,
Right,
there's an
Darko
appendix
Squig.
in the back, Appendix 2,
Clowns to the left of
that
me,
outlines
jokers to the right.
exactly what it was going to do. And if you compare note for note what's been now made publicly available about Kona Blue, this code name program,
Do it, Tales
you
of
see
Sonic
that they are
Voyage.
one and the
And
same.
Thanks for being a member.
No, we put
Send
that
me
out in the
when you're
book,
done.
and people ignored it. They just largely,
Yes, you're right, Steve
you know,
Long. There's
yeah,
no
that's really
proof of
interesting.
what he's
But I
saying.
think because we did not have the
Great
name
story,
attached,
though.
they just kind of blew it off.
He's great
Now
at
that the
telling
name is
stories.
attached,
He's
people are
terrible at
realizing,
providing
holy
evidence.
crap, that sounds a heck of a lot like that program that was described in this book. It is. It's the same thing.
Right.
We were not allowed to publish the name Kona Blue. That was one of the things that Dopser would not allow to go forward. But they allowed us to tell the story
It's been around
about
for-
what that program would have been, what it would have been, because it
2016.
never happened.
At least.
In Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, I think it's chapter 17, Dr. Lukatsky, Kelleher, Howell Cutoff went to DHS. They had a briefing with Dr. Tara O'Toole, brilliant scientist, one of the head honchos there, head of a division within DHS. And it was supposed to be a briefing about what this program could be. And it was a limited time frame. She's a busy person, of course, but it went on and on for hours.
Good
And
point.
after they finished the formal briefing, then they kind of closed their books and their notes and really told her what was going on. The experiences at the ranch, the hitchhiker effect, they were blown away. She and her aides were blown away. And it was basically, look, we think this sounds really promising. Let's go.
Trust me, bro. These stories are true, but they have no evidence. So they told the scientist spooky stories, and the scientist was impressed by their spooky stories. That's what he just said. I'm a professional wackadoo translator, just so everybody knows.
So some of the same people who are working with Lukatsky and Kelleher started
I
going
agree with
around
Hydrogen
to
Line,
see if they
100%.
could get materials. Will someone share with us the stuff that we know exists, but we've never been able to access before? And everywhere they went, and they knocked on the
It's
doors of the
sad,
people they thought
you.
knew about it and had it. And everywhere they went, the doors, not only were they told no, but the doors were slammed in their face. And then the
Yeah.
word starts filtering.
We have Go Kick Rocks is here with kind of generous $20 saying misappropriation of funds. Oh, I forgot. Doty was in on that wasted money. Doty and others, who is a admitted government paid disinformation agent, was part of the crew that wasted $20 million on this nonsense. But Go Kick Rocks, Jess says Doty and others, in my opinion, are privately commissioned to make it ridiculous so the investigation stop. Multiple factions with different agendas, but it's all about the money from government contracts or grifting. Can't say I disagree with you, but thank you for helping us to praise the cash, Jess.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right, and I think I might have missed this one. If I did, I apologize. Mega City Media. Weaponized dino beavers are a threat, to be honest. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Man, we're not even 15 minutes into
These
this.
guys are on the trail of the
Wolf
goodies.
Fest.
They're trying to get this stuff. We need to put a stop to it. And that's when opposition to Kona Blue really metastasized. And suddenly the plug was pulled on that before a program was ever created. The reason all this is really interesting is AARO, I'm sure Sean Kirkpatrick, Dr. Kirkpatrick, the former director of AARO, had a role in this because he's been crowing about it a little bit ever since. AARO finagled the release of the Kona Blue documents.
Yeah, because he wanted to show that some of the witnesses that were claiming the government's in possession of alien technology. And here's the program name. It's called Kona Blue. And George Knapp is going to lie through his teeth here. He doesn't have the transcripts of what the witnesses told AARO, but he's going to claim that no one told AARO that. AARO claims that they did. People did come into AARO and say the program to get the crash recovered alien technology was called Kona Blue, and that's where they're storing the alien spaceships and the bodies. It was a proposal for a program. It was never stood up. So AARO knew instantly that those people who were making these alien crash retrieval and body claims were complete wackadoos and were completely and totally 100% wrong in what they were claiming. That's why he released the documents, to prove you bunch of wackadoos wrong, George Knapp. But
even we had reported in the book what it was and what it would be and what it could do, but we didn't report the name or any of the specific documents because we weren't authorized to do it. He somehow gets DHS to declassify it and releases it and tries to use it as a propaganda tool. to discredit the witnesses who came forward to AARO. You know, there's a couple of dozen of people who came to AARO in good faith, told them their stories, and now we now know that AARO didn't believe any of them, that they just cut off their knees, discredited all of them.
Yes, because they had no evidence or they were mistaken, George Knapp. Maybe you should read that AARO report again, because we know some of your wackadoo buddies were the people telling AARO the fake stories. We know that. We know that with a high degree of certainty, but not 100% confirmed, because AARO hid the names of the witnesses. But one can draw some conclusions.
Gave us a propaganda bullshit answer that says all UFOs are explainable, and if we only had more data, we'd explain everything by now, every single case, which is a bunch of crap.
I don't believe he said all. I believe he said most.
What they said about Kona Blue is these witnesses who came to AARO, quite a few of them are confused. They're telling us about seeing crash retrievals, reverse engineering programs, and what they're really mentioning is Kona Blue. That is total bullshit.
Show the transcripts, George Knapp. Show the transcripts that prove that those witnesses didn't tell AARO the project name was Kona Blue, because AARO hasn't been caught lying. AARO hasn't been caught selling completely and totally fake stories like you have many, many times in your shit grifting career, you scumbag. You are a scumbag, George Knapp. You're ready to just shit all over a respected, renowned scientist who doesn't have a history of lying or selling fake alien stories to make money. Who's more credible? The guy who keeps getting caught selling fake alien and UFO stories, or a respected government scientist who's had a long and distinguished intelligence career? And, you know, they can't prove he's lying, so they're just going to make fake claims up, I guess, right? He hasn't been caught lying. You and your grifty partner, scammy Corbell here, have. So I know who I believe.
Not one witness came to them and told them, I saw UFOs stashed in a hangar run by a program called Kona Blue.
Apparently they did, according to AARO.
Because the program never existed. They had no budget. They had no...
That's how AARO knew that they weren't telling the truth. George Knapp, genius of the morning.
Hangars, they had no buildings. They had no staff. It never existed. So there's no way in hell a witness came forward and told AARO, yeah, I got all this information from Kona Blue. It's bullshit.
Yeah, there's a great article. We were recently talking with our friend Chris Sharp from Liberation Times.
Oh, the shit peddler. Yeah. Yeah. There is, for those unaware, there is trickle-down griftonomics. Do you know what that is? Trickle-down griftonomics is when a lower-level grifter will help the higher-level grifters by echoing their fake stories. And that's what Chris from the Liberation Times does. He is a shit peddler, Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, ass-licking parrot, right? Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp say something. Suddenly there's an article in the Liberation Times saying the same exact thing. He's a parrot and an ass licker. You got to love it. It's trickle-down griftonomics. The lower level bottom feeding scumbag grifters, you know, they attach themselves like vultures or parasites to these other grifters, and they just repeat what the top level grifters say, and they make their little bit of money. It's great.
And he did a great article about Kona Blue that really breaks things down. And he put some quotes in there, like Dr. Kirkpatrick said, this is what you're talking about. He said, we had several interviewees come in who named Kona Blue as the program that was housing the reverse engineering.
Yes. So Dr. Kirkpatrick said we had several interviewees come in who named Kona Blue as the program that was housing the reverse engineering and non-human intelligence bodies of these craft. And that is absolutely not the case. Again, back to the self-licking ice cream cone. It's the same group of disclosure boner wackadoo dickheads who keep telling each other stories. So it seems very plausible to me that some people would have heard of Kona Blue from some of the people that were involved in standing up the Perspective Project and went to AARO and said exactly this. Also, like I said, Kirkpatrick hasn't been caught being dishonest or lying, and he certainly has he didn't have a monetized financial motive to lie. These two clowns do.
And non-human intelligence bodies of these craft. And that is absolutely not the case. Understood. So what you're saying is And we've talked to people that have gone to Kirkpatrick, to AARO. None of them ever claimed to us that Kona Blue was what they witnessed or they were part of. So what you're saying is this is a show.
These two are really claiming that they know exactly who went to AARO, how many people went, what their names are, what they told AARO. They could never know that.
Shell game, and it's bullshit.
It is a shell game, just like Urgent Incredible lies that you told for how long now. And you and Ross Coulthard, your buddy, the disgraced Australian journalist who also sold this fake Grusch story and fake crash retrievals and all this other nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, AARO is not exactly real transparent. They're not exactly forthcoming in sharing files and information, especially stuff that was once classified with the public. They pretend to be, but they don't. They just release something for the sole purpose of using it as a propaganda tool. Now, as a student of propaganda, not a purveyor of it,
there is no proof that they did that to obfuscate, lie, or anything like that. Wow, very generous crowd tonight. We want to thank Mega City Media, who's the MVP of Super Chats right now, and a new member, I believe. If not, I apologize, but thanks for that, and being a member as well, and Mega City Media with another $10 Trump-ordered Greer to weaponize dino beavers. That seems totally plausible to me. And the hydrogen line, Stephen, give us an update on the cabin. Did you finish the porch? I live in the DC area, and I wish I had a place to get away from these assholes. No, I haven't finished the porch yet. Let me see if I can find it on my Twitter. I did. Interesting that you mentioned the cabin there, the hydrogen line, because I about lost my mind because some dumb dickhead on Twitter, I posted a picture of the sunroom because it was raining one day when I was at the cabin and I couldn't do outside work. So I instead worked inside the sunroom on potting some seedlings. And some idiot, dumb dickhead on Twitter said, "Oh, we get it. You have a sunroom. You're rich." And so I shared the photos of some of the hundreds of hours I spent building that sunroom. Not rich, just hardworking. I'll share this tab very quickly. Remember, I get a lot of people aren't here for cabin stuff, so we'll get right back to the presentation. The problem is I need to build a shelf on the front wall there to hold the roof up because of the unevenness of the way the roof line goes and the logs. So I've gotten, I don't know, I couldn't give you an estimate of how far along we are, but I'd say maybe 3 or 4 more weekends max, and we should have a finished porch. Thanks for inquiring. And if you're in the DC area, you're welcome to come and visit at the cabin as long as you're not a real wackadoo or going to be like awkward or a drug addict or something, you know. So yeah, maybe you could come just for a barbecue first before you're like an overnight guest. I think I'm going to have a new policy of that. For those unaware, I have had some people from the show actually visit at the cabin, and we've had good luck with that. No crazies or wackadoos or drug addicts so far. Let's continue in our journey then. The battle for UFO truth being fought by 2 proven scamming, grifting, lying scumbags who keep getting caught selling completely fake stories. You gotta love the hypocrisy. We're here to battle for the UFO truth. And how do we battle for the UFO truth? By lying to you.
I admire, in a sense, what they did because it's effective. It worked. It was a ruse that worked.
It wasn't a ruse. It was showing people that you grifty scumbags have no evidence of your claims. That's what they did. That's why it worked. They called your bluff. You had no evidence. You dumb dickheads walked a guy, made him blow his career and stand up in front of Congress telling alien and UFO stories, and you knew he had no evidence. You knew he had no proof, right? But you were right there to get some money from that guy telling those stories. So that makes these 2 people scumbags, degenerate, disgusting, despicable scumbags.
With mainstream media. Oh yeah, that must be it. They were confused about this program Kona Blue that never went anywhere. It's just flat out untrue. And I think it really crystallizes what the public's opinion of Kirkpatrick should be, is that he used that information with a kernel of truth, made a broad generalization that was absolutely untrue, and used it to discredit the subject.
So show the proof. Show the people. Give us the real program names that people gave AARO then. Remember, before the Grusch story started, these clowns all hyped this up, claiming that new whistleblowers are coming forward and they're going to blow the whistle. It's the quietest whistle I've ever heard in my life. 330 days of out-of-this-world claims and no evidence. You guys said that he would name program names and give the locations where the alien technology was being kept. You overpromised and you underdelivered big time.
It's dishonest. It's just not on the level. It is highly, well, I'd like to say it's irregular, but it's par for the course for the Department of Defense on this topic. It's really a crummy thing to do. And it was a really crummy thing to do to those witnesses. All of whom came forward with different stories. People like Robert Salas, you know, you've talked to him about, he was with the Minutemen missiles and the UFO nuke incidents. Dr. Bob Jacobs, I got to spend some time with him recently.
You know, listen, a lot of people, Michael Wade, I'll read your comment. Dude, holy F, I'm watching the something podcast from today. Will you please do a video? I'm about to jump out of my skin. I'm so angry. This dude is twisting the entire narrative. The only thing he read were positive things. He didn't go outside of his way to vet anything or to show the opposite bias as what you're supposed to do in, I guess, responsible journalism, right? Are these people really that stupid that they haven't just been to college, or do they not understand, or they have forgotten? I don't know. I don't get it. Here's what I'll say, and thank you for your comments, Michael Wade. We appreciate you and your comments. I'm trying to think of a diplomatic way to say this. I don't really want to attack the way other shows do their shows, you know, but there certainly are shows that I see that I cringe at. Most of them, in fact, that cover these topics. I always say I can count the people that are honestly covering the world of UFOs and aliens on one hand, and I truly still believe that. Most people are here for clickbait, sensationalized garbage peddling. But that being said, part of me has to recognize and understand that if you just want to make money with your show, that's the way to do it. Garbage peddling. Clickbait, sensationalized, don't fact check, just give people the hopium UFO and alien positive spin that they want to hear. And that's unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. And quite honestly, we used to sort of make, I don't want to say we made a habit of making enemies of other show hosts, but yeah, we one way or the other, we made enemies of a lot of other show hosts, or at least several. And it's really not productive because then they start trashing me and I start trashing them. You know, I don't have anything against that guy, except that I completely and totally don't respect him. And he didn't really earn whatever money he's earning because he's going the sloppy way. And it is what it is, right? Michael Wade says, Truth Seekers takes a dump on hippie truth shitters. Yeah. Yeah. So there's my take on that, Michael Wade. I'm trying to avoid any further conflicts and just focus on doing a good show myself. You know, I learned some things some time ago, and that is that you have to let go of the things that you can't control. There's just some things that you can't change. And I can't change that YouTube and this world, especially aliens and UFOs, will always be filled with garbage peddling clickbait hucksters that don't fact check and just feed people the hopeful UFO and aliens are real fake truth to make the money. I can't really do anything to change that. I mean, I can try, but it's kind of a fruitless endeavor.
He was involved with an incredible case where UFOs disabled what would have been the test flight of a nuclear missile.
Spooky.
And it was on video. It was recorded on film. Highly credible guy. There's backup material for his case, and they just wiped that out with a broad stroke of their hand like a magic wand.
Because it was a hoax.
I think there's some confusion, Jeremy. Maybe you can help our audience understand. You know, you hear about David Grusch, whose job it was to investigate these reverse engineering programs to find out where the stuff is, to talk to witnesses firsthand, and to bring that information all together. So he's been talking about like 40 people that he interviewed. We have heard there are something like 40 witnesses who went to AARO, and I think a lot of people assume those 40 and those 40 are the same people.
Well, we can tell for sure that some of those people are the same people. But don't let things like facts and evidence get in the way of a good fake story you could sell, George Knapp. Amy Collins, if we covered these guys fairly, it would be about 95-5. They have close to zero evidence that checks out and zero material evidence, mostly hearsay. Can't say I disagree with you. Michael Wade with a kind and generous $5 super chat. We love all of you kind and generous supporters. It's the end of the month. Everybody's always generous at the end of the month. I think because maybe everybody's bills are already paid, and the new month is starting. So we thank all of you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Thanks, Michael Wade.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
All right, and we had I saw a comment from Steve Long that I wanted to share here. Steve Long says, Knapp and Corbell even stuck up for Jason Sands, garbage peddling hucksters. Now, I think they kind of threw him under the bus a little bit too, and it's interesting that they say his claims, Steve Long, can't be verified, but they ran with Bob Lazar, who none of his claims can be verified either. So it's selective grifting, griftonomics, right? They figure out what's a story we can make a lot of money from, and apparently I don't think they thought they could make very much money from Jason Sands, so they threw him under the bus. But let's continue.
Are they?
No, they're not. I mean, less than a handful of people that were part of the ICIG investigation. I mean, we're talking less than a handful of people that David Grusch interviewed or the ICIG went to AARO. And there's major distrust of AARO. And we actually
know for a fact like Eric Davis and Jay Stratton and others were the same people. Come on, Jeremy Corbell, you're not being honest here. Less than a handful? That would mean less 5. And we can go through that, and we can go through that AARO report and identify some of those people, and then identify the very close ties that they have to David Grusch, and make a correct assumption. I think that, yeah, it is a lot of the same people.
Saw that. Did you see those leaked?
And it's very simple too. Dave Grusch could just name all the sources, and then you could prove the government wrong, but they won't. Funny that.
Or not leaked. Did you see those outed signal texts between Dr. Kirkpatrick and our friend Christopher Mellon?
Yeah, that's scary. I mean, it's scary.
Right. So in those signal texts that kind of came out public.
Now we're going to talk about this signal texts, which is Christopher Mellon talking for sure, I think, to Jay Stratton, who ran the UAPTF and was a nut job who said werewolves followed him home from Skinwalker Ranch. They always leave out like, hey, I'm talking to somebody who's getting to the truth about the alien crash retrievals. And he's getting to the truth about alien crash retrievals by investigating a pretty much proven hoax, fake UFO story, right? And that werewolves followed him home. That's who's giving Christopher Mellon information. Michael Wade says, thanks for that piece of sanity. I think you've helped me by not taking it so personally now. I guess some of the squad numbers. Like, all I got to do is just completely sell my soul, and I can get more views too, like these people. And, I have seen probably 3 or 4 shows that started a year ago that blew right by my numbers. But we've been working very diligently here for over 3 years. We have fact-based, evidence-based reporting and accurate reporting. We don't sell fake stories, so we get penalized. And that pisses me off, Michael Wade. But I'm trying to take it in stride, realize that we're here for the long haul. That's selling your soul to be successful isn't going to be successful long term. Please check out Steve Mumbling's channel. He is also awesome. Thanks, Mega City Media. Okay, so you've been a member for 3 months. We thank you for that, right? What's going on? Blue Avians told him to make some art. My screen is not doing good here. Let me see if we can't fix that. All right. There we go. So Blue Avians told Spooky to make some art. Spooky, did you see that picture I sent you? For those unaware, David Wilcock, and this is a side note, David Wilcock and Corey's Disclosure Summit was a complete and total failure. I have that by several accounts of people who attended. There was not many people there at that summit. Not many people at all. Chuck Bam, I don't know that anybody else is having issues. And listen, Chuck, I appreciate that you're reporting on technical problems with the show. But unfortunately, sometimes users are having their own problems that they attribute to the show. And it's a bad idea to do that to a show host while they are doing a live show. I'm testing the speed here. Yeah, it does seem a little slow today. Yeah, it does seem a little slow on the bandwidth. So, yeah, I guess I will run that cord when I get a chance. But back to Corey Good and Wilcock. Looked like their disclosure conference was a total bust with less than 100 people in attendance. Can't keep a big-time grift going with only 100 people. Okay, there are some issues. Well, I apologize for that. Let me check one thing. Maybe I can. No. All right, 1 second. Yeah, I'm getting like half the usual bandwidth I get here on this workstation, and I don't know why that is. It's probably the Men in Black and the CIA, right? Anyway, I apologize. Let's continue, or try to continue here.
Shows the absolute distrust of firsthand whistleblowers of Kirkpatrick and AARO. I mean, it's right there. You see that where there's some unnamed staffer
thank you for that.
who's
I'm not
corresponding
sure what the
with
issue is.
Kirkpatrick, and he's like, what is Rubio talking about? Because Rubio was talking about highly credentialed individuals with direct knowledge in these crash retrieval programs.
But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to run that internet cable, and I'm also going to put the computer from my office that I usually stream on. I think it may have an issue with this PC that I'm streaming on currently in this alternate streaming location. That should fix the issue. I thought I fixed the issue earlier because I know that we had some shows where there were some lag issues, and I apologize for this. We'll just try to get through it. I always say it's a live show. You get it warts and all. And I'll do some magic later after the show and try to resolve those issues. But
it's like, who is he talking about? He was like texting this to the staffer, and the staffer's like, he's talking about direct firsthand witnesses that don't trust you to come forward. I mean, basically that's the essence of it. So it shows that there are people with this direct knowledge who decided not to go to AARO. So
yeah, and the real story of that is that they realized. Yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm going to try to fix it. I don't know what the issue is, Chuck Bam, but thank you. So the real issue with people not wanting to go to AARO is that they realize that AARO is going to want evidence, and they can't just tell spooky stories. They have to provide evidence of their claims, and the claims will be fully investigated. I think that they chickened out of going to AARO because they knew they would need, evidence. BB Phil with Kind Journalist £5.99 says, "Can you summarize your own viewpoint on ET visitation in general for newer viewers? You did seem somewhat convinced by Roswell. Am I correct?" You know, there are several cases that are tantalizing that make me believe that we may, underline may 27 times, may have been visited by an advanced extraterrestrial species from another star system. However, the evidence to support that is pretty slim. So I don't know what that. I don't know what to tell you. I can tell you, BB Phil, that I would love to believe that aliens from another star system has visited us, but the evidence to support all these claims that people make are pretty slim. But thank you for helping us to praise the cash. I hope that is sufficient answer for you.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
BB Phil, I wouldn't waste so much time continually looking into these stories unless I thought there may be some meat on the bone at sometimes. Thank you, Steve Long. Yeah, it's the spooky chairs, Storm Crow. You're correct. Let's continue. Now they're making excuses for why people don't want to go to AARO.
So when you talk about who went to AARO, as far as the people that went to David Grusch was able to go to, and the people that went to the ICIG, I can confirm less than a handful of those people went forward to AARO. So it's kind of like
only 3.
sad in some way because you want it all to go forward. But I think for good reason, they know that AARO is just a counterintelligence operation to look for leaks and plug them.
These people who talked to Dave Grusch and whose testimony has been shared with Congress, back closed doors with Congress,
yeah,
and a few colleagues of ours.
Oh, the testimony Dave Grusch shared with Congress members that we're not allowed to see. There's always some convenient excuse. Oh, Grusch has all this evidence, but nobody's allowed to see it. Funny that.
Those people are savvy intelligence officers. People have worked at different places in government and for contractors. They know what the game is, and they did not go to AARO. They suspected from the get-go that this was not what it purported to be. It was not an honest investigation, and they were right. I did not begrudge the people who did talk to AARO. They went in good faith. They hoped for the best. They gave their information. They worried that maybe it was not going to be taken seriously, and now those worries have been confirmed. That this was a counterintelligence program. Some of our friends that we've talked to who've worked in intelligence circles on UFO matters have said this was a master stroke by Kirkpatrick. It is a counterintelligence program. He gets people to come forward. They come out of the woodwork. He gets to find out what they know, where stuff.
Now he's accusing Dr. Kirkpatrick of being a counterintelligence agent. And Steve Long with a kind and generous $9.99 says AARO stuck to the scientific method and standards and wouldn't believe our anecdotal claims. Wow. Yeah, I can't agree with you strongly enough. Thanks for your kindness, generosity, and long-time support of the show, Steve Long.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Oh, we're not making very good time getting through this.
Is, according to them, and then he not only undercuts them, but, I'm sure it alerted the keepers of the secrets of where their weaknesses are. They now know what the UFO community knows, and I'm sure it allows them to plug a lot of leaks. And further, they used the information they did get. They distorted the conclusions. They used it as a bludgeon with mainstream media. Mainstream media does not want to cover this topic. That's the way it's been for 60, 70 years. They would use you'll get an occasional story here and there, but really they're not comfortable with it. And now they have a whole new reason to walk away from it, which is what they've done. New York Times, Washington Post. There might be some stories down the road or something, but in general, as a serious investigative story, they're done with it, which is what they've always felt like doing. I think Kirkpatrick also, his primary goal, as we talked about in our last Weaponized, is to get Congress off their ass, to make Congress less interested in it. They've always got higher priorities. There's Ukraine. There's a battle over who's going to be the Speaker of the House. There's aid to Israel and the Gaza mess and all kinds of high priorities that are more pressing than UFOs. This gives them a reason to move on. That there's a cadre of people that we know there who are not going to move on. They're still interested, and we can get in that. But the other ones who generally don't consider it a priority now have a good reason to go on. It's an election year, for gosh sakes. So I do have to take my hat off to Kirkpatrick in that it was a masterstroke of propaganda and political intrigue.
Yeah, it was propaganda because he wanted evidence from your wackadoo friends that never have any.
And he did a number on the UFO community, but it wasn't a knockout blow, and we're not done.
Right. And so I want.
It should have meant we're not done grifting.
I want to back up 1 second just to be really clear to everybody because I think there's some confusion. So Kona.
We're going to keep the grifting going no matter what. And we're going to fast forward a bit here.
I know that Lou Elizondo, who was been there he was with the DOD much more recently than Lakatsky. His emails.
Yeah, and I was surprised to hear this. George Knapp actually doesn't think it's a conspiracy that Lakatsky's emails were deleted. After all, he hadn't been with the government for over 10 years. There exists a timeline. I worked in IT, and we had a timeline. After 4 years, all emails are purged within the company, and the government has their own timelines. It might be 5 years, it might be 10 years, whatever it is. After a certain period, they don't retain all the records. And for once, George Knapp told the truth about that Lakatsky email purge situation.
Are already gone, and there might be something a little on the sinister side about that, but the Lakatsky stuff is gone because he's been gone for all these years. So I think probably if they'd thought about it, they would have dumped all that stuff anyway, just so people couldn't get it by FOIA. That those are records they'd want to get rid of. But I don't see a sinister hand here. I think it's just gone because he's been gone.
Yeah.
I want to mention Lou Elizondo real quick. So I've been excited to see. I mean, I've really I stay away from social media, but people have been, sending me. He's been tweeting more, and I love that. I love to hear what Lou Elizondo has to say. I'm glad that he's kind of unleashed now a little bit, and he can be on. I don't know what's going on, but he can be on Twitter more.
He's ramping up to sell a book. And basically, Jeremy Corbell just said he loves hearing from the fake Pentagon UFO program director. Who cares what a fake Pentagon UFO program director who lied to the New York Times, who lied to the American public for years now, who cares what he has to say? He's a lying scumbag grifter like you two.
Look, Lou has a big story to tell. I think that it's important in the position that he did have that we get to hear what he has to say. I know he's got some projects, like a book coming out soon or something. That's awesome. So I was really glad to see that he was tweeting more and kind of putting information out. I did notice I watched the John Oliver special on UFOs. And let me just tell you, people were pissed, right? They thought it wasn't great. Look, it's a social commentary show that uses comedy. It's not like a deep dive.
For those unaware, John Oliver shit all over these guys, including Lou Elizondo. That's why they didn't like it, because he shit all over the lying scumbag grifters that sold a fake narrative since 2017. Even commenting on Lou Elizondo lying, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, claiming to run a government program, and then that's not the truth. John Oliver did a great job breaking down comedically some of the lies these grifters have told in the media.
He could get, I was like, he talks about everything. Why isn't he talking about UFOs? Finally, we got a John Oliver UFO special. And I don't think it was as negative as people think. I did see, somebody said they didn't portray Lou well and all this stuff. It's a comedy show. I was glad that they covered it. It is not just a comedy show. It's got social narrative. It's a cool show. It's a thoughtful show, whether you agree with it or not. So when they covered UFOs, I just thought it was interesting that they were basically saying we need more of both sides. We need more scientific analysis and not going too far on one side or the other. So I didn't agree with everything he said. I mean, they kind of made some joke about, the drone swarms and that kind of thing. But at least they covered it, and it's being talked about in pop media. Which, did you see it?
I haven't seen it. I've been told about it. I saw they were teasing it. People on UFO X, UFO Twitter were saying, "Oh, here it comes. It's going to be bad." And then people who watched it sent me some notes saying, "You're in it." I thought, "Oh no." But I like John Oliver. I like that show. It's funny. It's thoughtful. When I heard that they spent like a year working on a UFO special, I thought, well, that's great, but a year isn't really enough time to get your head around it. No matter who you are, it takes a lot longer to figure this stuff out than just working randomly here and there for a year. It's complicated, as you know, but I want to watch it. I'll watch it this weekend and see what he says. I have no problem with people having fun with the UFO topic. It has been fodder for comedians forever, making fun of the crazy UFO people. It's like fish in a barrel. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, it is pretty easy because for decades now, you guys have made all these claims and never proven anything.
Getting into the heart of the matter, into the real beef of the matter and the mystery is a lot harder and takes a lot of time. So if they're giving a platform that says both sides,
Blue has
we
big
needed more
stories
information,
to tell.
that's great. I have
Yes.
no problem with that.
I mean, that was my
And
takeaway.
Mrs.
Sometimes
Blue.
I hear what I want to hear with that kind of stuff, but that was my takeaway. I did
Jeremy
talk with
Jones,
Commander
Mr.
Fravor because they
Corbell.
called him and they said they wanted to make sure that they weren't misrepresenting him. And I thought that was great. Like, when does a show call somebody when they put their image up and ask if they're misrepresenting them? So Fravor said, look, it's the best we can expect from a format like that. And I get it, but I'm just glad we're having the conversation.
Yes.
But one
Oliver
thing
called
I
that
want to
Jeremy
focus
for his
on,
fake triangle
it was
UFO.
kind of for a comedic element,
did,
but
yeah.
towards the end of the show, he's talking about the USS Russell. We call it the green footage, where, triangle at angle of observation, quote, pyramid and classified documents of people we've spoken with. It's an ongoing debate. What are the shapes of this USS Russell thing? And he plays a clip from the one of the hearings, right, where they had Bray and Moultrie up, and basically uses it as a comedic vehicle to say sometimes it's really simple stuff. And they talk about the shape of the object in it, is it bokeh or what? And, it dawned on me at that moment that we all got kind of sucked into that bullshit by taking one piece of footage and trying to use
Talking about his own fake footage that John Oliver shit all over.
the lowest hanging fruit. You're trying to dismiss the entirety of what we reported on. We didn't just put out one video, man. Look, ultimately, I don't know that shape is the most important thing. The most important thing is that there were hundreds or over 100 unknown units that were swarming 10 Navy warships in 2019.
Yes, and they were drones. They were not alien spaceships, as Jeremy Corbell originally claimed. Now he's going to backpedal and do damage control.
Off the west coast of California, we provided thermal footage. We provided IR. We provided radar. We provided deck footage. We provided witnesses that were firsthand testimony of active military that
Knapp's
were
got a full
there.
diaper?
We did
Gross.
all of this, I think, in episode 2 of Weaponized, and everybody should go back to episode 2 of Weaponized and watch that. And look, also, we're reporting when we said those, triangle by angle of observation, pyramid and shape, people thought we made
You're
that
right
up
about that,
until
Steve
we
Ball.
released documents. And those documents were what we were reporting off of. All we can do is report on what we have obtained, right? So we obtained those documents and we reported on it. And then even further so,
This
we
is
did an
all
interview
excuses.
with the guy who had the investigation, your friend, Jay Stratton. And
Your
he
video
came
was
on camera,
proven to
and
be
he
drones.
even after
Yeah,
that
Jay
congressional
Stratton, the
hearing
guy
said,
who
look,
werewolves
I've
fought
had
home.
optical physicists look at this. We
Werewolves.
believe that the image, what you're seeing,
Yeah, werewolves followed me home from Skinwalker Ranch, and Jeremy Corbell's right. There are pyramid spaceships.
was the shape of the object. But again, we're getting caught in the shape thing. And I'm so at the point where I don't give a fuck anymore.
The
What I
aliens
care
are
about
holding
is
out, yes,
don't
for more
lose
money
sight
before they
of the
disclose themselves.
entirety of the event. We're talking about drone swarms. And again, the word drone, right? That
Yeah.
just means
Making up
unmanned
lies and
is
false
the idea,
tales.
remote control. But whose units were they? And I'm not making a claim that they're from Zeta Reticuli. What I'm saying is these are true UAP because
call
we
them
don't know who
pyramid
operated them. We don't know where they
spaceships,
came
asshole.
from. We don't know where they went. And they were pretty damn big.
Or that
I mean,
got
the
busted.
estimate was about 12 to 14 feet in diameter
this
at
whole-
least. So
Good point.
Look,
This entire stream so far has been nothing but damage control. These guys are in spin mode, damage control mode, because all their fake stories are getting called out by multiple. John Oliver, it's an international comedy show, hit show, just called them out for their fake nonsense. So did the government. So now they're in spin mode, trying to spin this and damage control for their idiot followers that are dumb enough to believe that they're telling the truth still after getting caught lying how many times now.
I just want to bring people back in because it kind of sparked me after watching the John Oliver thing, which is this swarm thing about UAP is really important. And that brings us to a couple of things. One is the Langley Air Force Base UAP swarms that just recently, Langley Air Force Base has been penetrated. The airspace has been penetrated by unknowns.
Yes, by balloons. It was penetrated by balloons, you idiot.
And of course, they're blinking lights. This is not a new phenomenon, the white, green, and red. Merrick, he's a guy that works for The Hill. He's a great thinker on this. He wrote a great article in the hill,
Echo chamber.
bringing people into this kind of drone or UFO alarming incursions demand answers. That's the title of his article in the Hill.
I agree with that.
And what I found so interesting about his article was he talks about the Langley incursions, and this is important. You've got a military area being penetrated by these unknowns, and they can't find them. But he also brought us back in history, and he talks about how some of these were transmedium, the footage you and I obtained and released in 2019. But also he goes all the way back to I think 1965, when there were these incursions of UAP that were moving in the same way as what we're seeing now, that people are calling drones, right? And they're described by witnesses as having these lights. So the same characteristics in 1965 over near nuclear facilities is what we're seeing with all these incursions now.
You got to bring in the nuclear facilities, which is largely based on lies and false claims.
Have the same tech in 1965. So it's so fascinating to me that we can label everything drone, and like the Drive is great at that. They always label everything a drone. It's amazing. But they're missing the point again. What does drone mean? It just means unmanned. It doesn't resolve who these are, what the intent is, how they can operate the way that they operate all the way back from 1965 or beyond or further.
That's so funny. You're right. Oh, so the pyramids were total BS, but these Langley UFOs were real. No, they were balloons.
Up to date. So I encourage people to read that article by Merrick in the Hill, because it was really illuminating.
Yeah, he does some really good work. I'm impressed by the stuff that he's done, and he stayed on it. We're going to have to, if we do a future version of Weaponized or podcast, we're going to have to get him on the show. His brain
throughout this stream, they kind of all say that they're throwing in the towel on this podcast.
That we do not claim that these drones are from Zeta Reticuli. That's true. But we're also sort of that they're not from Radio Shack either. You didn't just go buy a hobby kit and send them out 100 miles off the Pacific coast and buzz all these warships over many, many hours, and then you come out of nowhere and you disappear. It's just drones. Don't worry about it. And it's not just the 2019 instance you said is Langley. These incursions have been going on a long time. We have no idea where they are from, and they are flying into our most sensitive airspace. That's a big deal. It's a really big deal that we don't know where they're from, what they're doing, and we can't seem to do anything about it. You recall also, was it 2019, 2020, these mystery drones flying in formation in Colorado and in surrounding states? Again, hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people saw them. There are videos.
They're from the star system.
Not one of those cases was ever resolved. Aren't you just a little bit curious, Department of Defense, who's flying this stuff around? The idea of don't worry about it, it's just drones. That's pretty darn serious when they're making these incursions at places like
right. Grandma's boy meme next. Like, is that all you got? Come on, weak sauce.
Yeah, and you bring up the Nebraska swarms of these drones, and
I never understood. How is it an insult comparing my appearance to a famous movie star? That's an insult? No, it's not.
Eric's article, and I think that's really important because he actually pulled quotes from FAA officials, and things like. He says there are several reports that indicate the drones are operating in coordination with a big drone. So this is in FAA emails. So what's interesting is they also called it like a mothership. So when they were doing Nebraska was seeing these 30 to 50, the swarm of unidentified. There seemed to be another object that these things were being deployed from. It really reminds me of Commander David Fravor and the Tic Tac, a series of events that went on for weeks. I mean, this is not a Tic Tac. This is dozens and dozens dropping down from 80,000 feet to sea level like that. So the thing is, his report was that something was under the water. The water was. It makes you wonder if there is a source of these mobiles, rather than just being a ship or something like that. Is this weird? If we have something under the water, these things are docking with, And then also, if we had something in the air when it comes to Nebraska, these things are coming out of. I mean, that relates to the
He loves
UFO history
aliens
that
to have
we've heard
big
all
drones.
along,
Yes,
that these
absolutely.
smaller objects are deployed by bigger objects. Look, I know, I just
Yes,
know that
okay.
this has been going on a long time. So I guess when we look at this whole idea of unknown objects flying with impunity in a restricted airspace, we need to continue to ask the questions of what is going on. And I just don't know the next path forward for that. I just don't know.
Well, I know what one path should have been. It should have been the path that Kona Blue was trying to take.
Yes.
Right.
If that
Our
plug had not
grifter friends should have been able to scam the government out of even more money.
been pulled, if that had gone forward, that would have.
Well, I don't know what the step is. I'm going to assume, Jerry Corbell, step from you is more fake stories, more worthless videos, more grifting. That's the next step for you, buddy.
Been amazing. I mean, we would have answers, or at least have more information by now. In Chris Sharp's article and in Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, it's sort of laid out what this program would have done. And again, as with OSAP, they don't say it's UFOs. They don't use the term UAP, flying saucers from Zeta Reticuli. They're using very generic language because they don't want to draw attention to what is scare off their potential client of saying we're studying little green men and they're flying saucers. So it was, they were going to identify emerging technology and to evaluate potentially disruptive changes in technology, technologies that are
he has no proof of that.
More advanced than what we know exists. I mean, identifying that technology and calling it potentially disruptive is a better way to speak about this issue than to just call them UFOs in official government documents. DHS was a little leery about getting involved in UFOs. So in what Lukatsky and Kelleher presented to them, here's why DHS should be involved. There are threats to homeland security from these technologies. Plus, and they in the kind of documents that were released and made public, look, if we can figure this stuff out, we get a leg up on all of our opponents. So it's not just getting answers to a scientific mystery. It is in trying to duplicate and expand that technology to give us a competitive.
These guys are boring me.
These, alien mummies that come out. We got that Las Vegas.
It's so funny. Here, Jeremy Corbell bitches about the Las Vegas alien stories. And he's sitting right next to the asshole that promoted that fake Las Vegas alien story.
Yes, shadow creatures. And when it's just like, the guys holding the fence, we do, there's this captures people's imaginations.
First time he's told the truth. Yes, there's a sensational aspect to this that really captures people's imaginations. That's how your grift works. That's how you can sell a convicted pimp, fake scientist with a convicted murderer wife as a real government whistleblower, you asshole.
But ends up being, kind of harmful to the discussion, I guess, of what we're talking about. So it's just kind of like, it's really hard to get information from the data, especially when you're being targeted BS, and we have to really sift through because we get these stuff sent to us all the time. There is a case, though, that I think is so interesting. It's the Eglin Air Force Base UAP analysis by AARO, like an analysis. This is a great example of a solid case. It was just dismissed like swamp gas, airlines. Report on people what the Eglin Air Force Base UAP is.
But yeah, I did see it. It was preposterous and laughable what they wrote and tried to just slough this off.
Best available evidence was that it was balloons, and they showed the evidence for that. But these guys don't want to accept that. So let's continue.
Preposterous. So Matt Gaetz, I don't know. I know you're staying off social media. We're recording this on Saturday. Responded to this. He said, "This is, he was pretty outraged all over again about what a bullshit."
So I've been asking you or me about this James guy.
That's interesting.
I saw some headlines like whistleblower comes out on a Twitter Spaces or something like that, And
this is interesting because basically they say that Jason Sands' information, his background can be verified, but his stories can't. And we can't do anything with that. Meanwhile, they have Bob Lazar, whose background can't be verified at all, whose employment history can't be verified at all, whose educational credentials can't be verified at all. And they ran with his story, but I don't know what it is. Maybe he signed an exclusive deal with James Fox, so they knew they lost that source to sell fake stories. So now they're going to kind of shit on him, but kind of defend him as well. It's weird.
You know, a lot of people are just asking, what do you think about this guy? And so I think it's important that we at least touch upon this. Like, look, man, I did know about Jay Sands. You know, I've talked to him many times back in the day. It's not something I can personally report on because there's, you know, what is the difference between verifiable information and not verifiable information? You know, to my satisfaction, and I think to yours as well, that it is verified that Jay Sands worked in the positions that he says that he worked in, that he was part of the intelligence community. I'm not sure what has been said publicly, but you know, absolutely, he worked in the intelligence community and currently does. So the guy has security clearances and has worked in the capacities he said. In specifically, he worked as a red hat, which is like a counterintelligence at Area 51. He was intercepting communications. So this is a guy that would have heard the internal chatter from some of the most secretive programs that our country has. And that is validated that was his job.
Yeah, happy Tuesday.
I can validate that for you. That is correct information. I can also validate that he's testified to Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, to the Senate Armed Services Committee, and the House Armed Services Committee. So he did come forward with information. And I've talked to some people in those capacities, and they're like, yeah, what we could verify knowledge of legacy UFO probe. And I thought it was interesting because some of I could ever validate or verify. So for me, there's nothing I can do with them. You know, he could come forward with that.
I don't understand how he sell Bob Lazar's story out the wazoo, which is all unverified claims, but Jason Sands' unverified claims he can't do anything with. And for those unaware, Jason Sands is the new claimed whistleblower that came out on Twitter Spaces talking about blue aliens and tall white aliens and an encounter with an alien and more.
Story, but just like any other credible person can come forward with a story, a firsthand direct contact with a ET or non-human intelligence, there's just nothing much I can personally do with it. It wasn't a story that I felt I could run with. So it's a complex situation. I'm not sure what to make of it. How about you, George?
Well, you know, you had told me about him, that you'd been having these conversations with him and you wanted to bring me in. That was more than a year ago. Maybe it's a year and a half or so.
Yeah.
And we finally had a real long, detailed talk with him where he laid out his story for me as well as to you. And so I was able to ask him some questions. And so much of the key incidents that he talked about were here in Nevada. So I know a lot about that base where he worked.
It's not me.
And, you know, there were questions I could ask that gave me a sense of, did he really work there? And the answer is yes.
All whites sounds like a losing basketball team. That's a good joke. I'm going to steal that from you, Greg O'Brien. And for those unaware, we detailed how the entire story of tall white aliens came from a stolen valor fraud fake Air Force officer named Charles Hall. We verified with the National Personnel Records Center he was never in the Air Force. And his flimsy evidence falls apart. For example, he claims, here's a picture of me in Vietnam. And we kind of proved it wasn't in Vietnam by various methods of research. So the entire story of tall white aliens falls apart. It all started with a fake stolen valor fraud, fake Air Force officer telling fantastic stories with no evidence. And now we have new so-called whistleblowers who are running with previously discredited fake stories from fake people. It's great. Welcome to clown world.
Yeah. I know that Jay has been, well, Jason is how I think everyone else uses the name, but Jay to us,
that's
that
the only
he has
one
been dismayed in that he's really been ripped apart on UFO, Twitter, and X and social media, which happens to anybody who comes forward. That's part of the It's part of the whole shebang. He's upset, I think, what I was told, because people like you and I have not come forward to defend him. Well, the agreement we had with him was that we're not going to talk about it. He shared his story with us with the understanding that we weren't going to go forward. We were not going to do an issue of Weaponized on his story, that he had already made agreements to keep buttoned down for a while. People don't know that there's tremendous competition for UFO whistleblowers and witnesses in the journalism world. The people who are considered credible to investigate this stuff, when they hear about a witness, they want to wrap them up. I want him to be my witness for my film or my book. And there's a lot.
Yeah, and that may be what happened. James Fox got to the guy and got him to agree to be in his documentary. So these guys knew that they lost the exclusive story of this bullshitter. I think he's a bullshitter. I don't know. I'm going to try to give him the benefit of the doubt, though. But when you start talking about meeting aliens and you have no evidence or proof, my eyes glaze over, and I just think, grifty.
A lot of competition there. So by the time you and I were getting into the nitty-gritty with him, he'd already made some agreements about where his story was going to break. That's fine. It's fine with us. We weren't going to spill it. I think that I'm not surprised that Jay's story is now out. I am surprised that it took this long to come out, because I think you have the same feeling. He wanted to tell the world about what he had seen and what he had done. He was anxious back then, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I tell people when they come to me is, look, I trust but need to verify. And I'm not making movies on this stuff. I'm not going to put you in something. So I always.
Oh, yeah. He didn't tell Bob Lazar that. He did everything but blow Bob Lazar to get his story in a documentary.
Kill that right away. Like, if you're looking for somebody to back you up, I'm not the guy, right?
Oh, no.
So I just but if you want to tell me what you said, right, or what happened, I'll listen to it. But again, George, so much of it for me, I'm not passing judgment on it. I couldn't verify it. So I couldn't verify the specifics of the encounter that he says he had. So how am I to know better than anybody else if that is an actual event or not? So I can't get up and defend somebody when I can't verify anything. What I can say is I've talked to people within government that he's testified to, not about his personal experience, but about his knowledge of legacy UFO program. And that stuff, everything that could be verified, was checked out. So he had some type of exposure to the legacy UFO stuff, even if it's just overhearing it on the radio by name, doing his counter intel. He had some accurate information. So again, look, this subject is never easy. It's complicated. And I'm not standing here saying everything somebody says, I'm behind what they said, big thumbs up. I can't do that. I can tell you what I verified, what I haven't verified. And that's all that I verified, is that he had some knowledge. Not even, to be honest, not even a lot. Like, there are people with direct firsthand hands-on experience who won't go to Kirkpatrick and to AARO. And those individuals, if they ever come forward, I mean, that is verifiable, awesome information about UFO programs.
Yeah.
But look, it takes.
I know people with verifiable, real proof about alien and UFO legacy programs, but I can't tell you their name, right? Oh, but they can't speak publicly about it. It's all classified. This is the grifter dance.
It's kind of like, it's like a prism. If you can get verified information from a huge panel of people on what's going on, it's gonna paint a much clearer picture. So yeah, man, that's all I got to say about it. There's nothing more I can say because I can't verify anything. So look, this brings me back to those text messages or whatever from our pal Christopher Mellon.
Our pal. See how close the Grift Squad members all are? That's my pal.
One of the things that was written, he has this inside guy who's basically like infiltrating the crash retrieval program, it sounds like, and he's reporting back.
And he's most likely talking to Jay Stratton.
To Chris, and it says, right now, we haven't gone that far back. We're dealing with the recovered UAP that landed in Kingman, Arizona in the 50s.
And by the way, Kingman, Arizona is a completely and totally hoaxed fake case. It's a single witness to the event who also admitted that he got drunk and lied about a lot of things, right? And guess who's been pushing the Kingman, Arizona case for years? That's right, George Knapp.
50s.
Funny that.
We're vacuuming up info as so-and-so gets read in. We now know the management structure and security control system and ownership of the crash retrieval. We also know who recovers landed or crashed UAPs and under what authorities. We also know that a still highly classified memo by a secretary of the U.S. Air Force in the 1950s is still in effect to maintain the cover on UAPs. I just thought this was like the coolest because they're talking about.
And what they're not telling you is that that's most likely their buddy, Jay Stratton, who they've done monetized podcast episodes with. You remember Jay Stratton, the guy who said werewolves followed him home from Skinwalker Ranch? He's the guy that's looking into a completely fake UFO crash case from the 1950s and saying that we're getting all this information about. I'm sorry, I don't believe that you're getting all this information about a verifiably fake hoaxed UFO case, but okay.
Direct knowledge of UAP crash retrieval programs. I mean, that's a bombshell, that text that came out, right?
Absolutely. And of course, it's something near and dear to my heart. They're talking about the Kingman incident that I've reported on over the years.
You made a lot of money
I
selling
think
that
people,
fake story,
if they're
George.
interested in the topic, you have to learn the history. There is a lot of subterfuge and there's some misinformation in that whole Kingman scenario and witnesses who are not really trustworthy. But in essence,
they're not trustworthy. Like the main witness that started the whole story is not trustworthy. A man who gets drunk and lies to people. That's your source for this whole story.
A core story there. There were hundreds of UFOs in that general area seen within the days of that incident. There were these giant special radar installations in Kingman that presumably could have had some effect on the navigational capabilities of these craft wherever they're from.
Right,
there were 3 objects that crashed around Kingman, according to witnesses. There was a guy, the late Harry Drew, put together a book that I think fewer than 10 people in the world have even seen it. But he did really the heavy lifting on Kingman, and he convinced me that this was legit, that there really was a program there, that military units were out there in the desert. He dug up the military rations that have been thrown.
Yeah, that's their proof that an alien crash retrieval happened. They were out in the woods or the desert out there, and they found some cans from old army rations. That is the level, the quality of proof for an alien crash retrieval program. We found cans from the army. That proves that the army was here recovering crashed alien spaceships and alien bodies. No, it doesn't prove anything. This is a false equivocation. It's a false narrative pushed by less than credible scumbag grifters who will do anything to sell a fake story and make those UFO dollars.
Thrown away where they camped. They were there to recover these materials and presumably took that stuff to a certain little location in Nevada, not that far from my home. I think that case is legit, and I think that could be exactly what's being discussed in those signal messages that went back and forth with Chris Mellon.
Well, look, I mean, I'm hoping that more and more of these direct firsthand whistleblowers will come forward, but we see their hesitation to come forward to AARO. So it's like easy way or hard way. If they're not going to go the easy way, are they going to push into the public realm, you know, through journalists, through media, through leaks? I don't know. I mean, I've seen people fluctuate a lot of like what it means to them to come forward, like crack the egg is what I'm told. I don't want to be the one to crack the egg. So it's really undetermined how these people that are known to some journalists now that are not publicly known yet, right? Are they going to come forward? And it seems undetermined. I guess it depends on protections.
This is the dangling carrot. There's always a dangling carrot. Oh no, we got these whistleblowers and they're all going to be coming forward soon, one way or the other. This is the dangling carrot. They always are dangling carrots.
But I do want to ask you, you just did a news report, and the report was retouching upon a friend of yours who you've known for a long time, who was raided by OSI. And
we're going to skip this because, for once, George Knapp did a factual report about a person who ran an Area 51 website who was raided by the feds. Not really important to the discussion. It's a shame that happened to that person. Right?
Has developed that is more secret than Area 51 itself. It's north of Groom Lake. There's that big mountain range. It's ringed by mountains. The public can't access it. It's off limits. You can't hike out there. But
Corbell
they
is 10
fly
minutes.
in that area, drones and other technologies, and nobody can see it. No one has any idea what they're flying. Unless you have a satellite, you can't see it. So that's the story we did. Always
agree,
like to keep a
Marcelo.
hand in trying to figure out what's going on at Area 51. It is near and dear to my heart.
I'm glad you're covering it. I mean, it sounds like an egregious abuse of power when you have somebody like Jorg who's raided by federal agencies, and it's important you shine a light on it. So it was cool to see those stories come out. Well, look, man, I just wanted to catch up with you on a lot of. I mean, this is like Alice in Wonderland right now with the UFO thing. You got people, just trying to demolish, this guy Jay Sands that came forward. You've got, all this stuff, with the shadow beings out of Las Vegas. You got all these leaked, or not leaked, but you get all these like memos out of AARO, and you get all these text messages. And I'm kind of watching it at a distance right now and just seeing how people are starving for information on this. The interest of the public is still at this peak level, but you're just seeing the pushback. You really are seeing people try to discredit, try to demean people, try to make.
Yeah, they're discrediting people by asking for evidence. This may tell you something about their evidence-free, faith-based belief system in aliens and UFOs and crash retrievals and everything else. If you're saying that people are discrediting people because they're asking for evidence of the claims being made, then you're a clown, Corbell. Come on, clown Corbell. Asking for evidence is not discrediting somebody. It's asking for evidence. After all, you guys are making millions. You and Knapp collectively have made millions of dollars selling this horse shit. Is it too much to ask that you actually provide some evidence? And I don't mean fake evidence like videos of flares or videos of camera apertures that look strange, or videos of balloon clusters of balloons flying through an aerial observation site. I mean real evidence. But according to Knapp and Corbell, if you ask them or demand evidence of their claims, you're discrediting them. Well, people with no evidence should be discredited, Jeremy Corbell.
Make people lose interest, but I don't think it's going to work, man. People are really know that this phenomenon is real, and they're just trying to find out, what are the edges of it. So I don't know. I guess the thing I would say is, for those of you that have called me and they're a little disappointed with where we are right now, have some grit, man. Keep throwing punches.
Oh yeah.
Don't be disheartened because of the tactics, these heavy-handed tactics used by Sean Kirkpatrick and the organization he's put together, AARO. It was always going to be this, and not to say I told you so, but I told you so. I mean, how many times have we said it on Weaponized? The closer the public gets to the goodies, the harder the pushback is going to be. We're seeing it now in real time. Yes. They are pushing back.
This is false narrative. Oh, we got real close to the truth. Just like the Kona Blue people got real close to getting the alien technology, but it just slipped through our fingers like sand through our hands, right? Right at the last minute. We almost had disclosure. We almost had the alien truth. We made such great progress. No, you got nothing, because the whole narrative that you've been spinning for 8, 9, 10 months, 11 months now, the Grusch false narrative, fell apart under scrutiny. Under scrutiny and demands for evidence, the entire Grusch story that you two clowns sold all this time now turns out to be fake, or at least worthless, because it's another evidence-free, trust me, bro story, right?
Back hard. It's taken them a while to get up to speed, but they've cut the legs off of this and thwarted the momentum that was building over the past 5.5, almost 6 years. But it's not done. There are others that are investigating this stuff. A lot of information has been given to Congress and congressional staff.
Yeah, a lot of information has been given to other people, but we can't share it with you. In other words, there's definitely evidence, but it was given to members of Congress and it's classified or something, so we can't show it to you. Always with a convenient excuse. Remember, 330 days now of Dave Grusch nonsense, still no evidence.
There have been private efforts, scientists starting their own investigations outside of government.
Yeah, people like Gary Nolan, a wackadoo, or people like Danny Sheehan. Everybody's starting a UFO organization, and everybody's asking for money.
There's a lot of good things that are happening here.
Yeah,
Don't give up, folks.
Yeah, and I think the destigmatization of it has really borne a lot of fruit because where we are right now is, I mean, oh my gosh, how many commercial airline pilots that are not under the same restrictions as military pilots have been reaching out to you and me with videos, with their testimony. It's pretty incredible. So right now, what I'm seeing is a lot of collection from the civilian world of this data and information. So I'm really eager to see where that goes. I'm just looking at some of the footage now and talking and interviewing a lot of the pilots that have seen an increase of UAP in their airspace. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes, but I'm glad we touched base again and kind of had a little update. We let the audience kind of hear what we would normally talk about, so that's pretty cool. And I don't know, I'll give you a little break, but then I'm going to drag you back on here again.
I hope people will check out the stories that we did on KLAS about Jorg and Area 51.
He's got to promote his own grift here.
I hope people will, if you haven't read Skinwalkers of the Pentagon, and then
buy my shit.
And then, Revelations to follow up.
Buy my book that I lied to everybody and said that we had all this evidence. But then on Joe Rogan, I had to admit there is no evidence. But buy my book full of spooky stories anyway.
Book. I'm giving a shameless plug to those. But if you want to know about Kona Blue and related materials or what that program could have been, that's how you can find out.
Yeah, you got to
buy the book. And lastly, I think we should probably talk to our audience about Weaponized. We, initially thought we were going to do one episode a month, and then it became one a week. And, it was a lot of fun. Those episodes with Colin Kelleher, with James Lakatsky, Jay Stratton,
all the spooky bunch who stole the Skinwalker scam and other fake stories.
Travis Taylor, people who didn't see them, you might want to go back and check those out because there's a lot of information directly related to the stories that are unfolding right now. We're kind of kicking around some ideas about how this could move forward in kind of different and exciting venues. And
in other words, they're trying to figure out how to keep the grift going.
Possibilities. I don't know how far you want to go on that, but we're not done with it. We're done with season 1. This is the Michael Corleone episode. I don't know do we give it a number or not, but we are going to be doing something else in the future. We just don't know what that is going to be.
Yeah, or when it's going to be. I'm pretty sure we know exactly what we're doing. It's just a matter of like when we're doing it. So
yes, we have to time our releases for maximum monetization value.
Anyway, yeah, man, leave everybody there. Good to see you. We can do these anytime. This is episode number 53, and I just wanted to have an update with you, man.
53 episodes of bullshit. Imagine that.
And we'll go from there.
And by the way, 53 episodes. What's their best evidence after 53 episodes? Oh, that's right. They got nothing. These grifting scumbag liars selling evidence-free spooky stories for cash to stupid people.
Good talking to you. Take care.
Oh, okay, so we made it to the end of their spin fest. And largely, just to wrap up, largely, most of me thinks that these guys are just in damage control mode. They're just trying their very best to keep the grift going, providing endless excuses for why they sold the completely and totally evidence-free, or some would say fake Grusch narrative for all this time now. Interesting that the best evidence that they have is a fake Kingman, Arizona crash, right? That's the best evidence that they try to put forth during this thing. And the rest of this was spin, claimed government cover-up. After you get caught selling a completely, totally fake story for almost a year in the form of Dave Grusch, just claim government cover-up and roll on with the next fake story that you're going to be selling. And that's why they're taking some time off. They need to develop new fake material. Maybe they need some balloon videos, right? Maybe they need some, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to be coming up with next. It's going to be hard to top the garbage jellyfish video, in my estimation. It's going to be hard to come out with something dumber and stupider and more worthless than that. But I'm sure that they're right now actively collecting information to do that with. We want to thank James4488. I apologize. I didn't see your super sticker until just now. But for those unaware, we thank every single person that sends a super chat or super sticker or sends a PayPal pledge. If you're going to send a PayPal pledge, instructions are in the description of this video or podcast. Just be sure to add a note, and we'll read anything that you send us with a PayPal pledge. Thank you, James4488. Little quick on the draw. Thank you for helping us to praise the cash. And we want to take a moment to thank and recognize some kind and generous PayPal pledgers. And I apologize. I believe that I forgot to check in with the PayPal pledges during the last live broadcast. For those unaware, we read every single PayPal pledge that gets sent our way. We want to thank initials JW for a kind and generous $18.93. I think it's $18.93, unless I'm wrong. Let me check. Oh, no, it's a $20 one. That's after the fee, but it's fine. Great. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. JW, they know who they are. We appreciate your kindness. We appreciate your generosity. We appreciate your support. Very, very kind of you. Next, we want to thank initials MB. They know who they are for a kind and generous $2.50 PayPal pledge. No message on either of those, but we thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. We want to thank initials DD for a kind and generous $50, and that was from last week, so I apologize so much for missing that one. I don't want to miss those big ones, especially. We want to thank initials DB for a kind and generous $20 PayPal pledge. And we want to thank North for a kind and generous $50 PayPal pledge, who says lying through his fake teeth. I'm certain that they're referencing the David Wilcock show. I'm fond of that saying, David Wilcock is lying through his fake teeth. William Runner, do any of you ever get tempted to legally scam the hell out of people? Jason Parker says, I guess David Wilcock is a terrible fortune teller. Yes. Archaic Revival says, I feel Wilcock should be warned about all of this. Absolutely. Comments or questions for me, put them in all capital letters. Patty says, it will be a whopper, whatever it is. Absolutely. Hank McGurk, I don't know what he's talking about. I never do. But welcome, Hank McGurk. Steve Long, every time I think it can't get any more stupid or senseless, the UFO topic says, hold my beer. You got to love it. You got to love it, Steve Long. But thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Jason Parker says, what did the psychic say? He says, I knew you were going to buy my book. Interesting. Chuck Bam, self-licking ice cream cone. He will never move to fake move landing because that is true. I don't know about that. But I heard Joe Rogan actually had that Bart Zeibel guy on. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to do that. Yeah, donate should get a shout, Steve. Praise the cash. Oh, yes. All of those kind and generous donors. And I also want to thank you, kind and generous Patreon supporters and channel members. For those unaware, you can get some extra goodies on Patreon for $1 or more. The YouTube channel membership is $5 or more a month. Instructions for how to sign up for either are in the description of this video or podcast. We're a viewer-supported show. And unlike people who take, hundreds of thousands of dollars from their grifty lying to people, we try to give people fact-based, evidence-based reporting to the best of our ability. We thank all of you kind and generous PayPal pledgers. We had some very kind and generous people this week. And boy, that's the best way to make a Stephen Cambian smile. Keep sending those pledges in, those super chats. We read every single one. And we thank you, Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members. By the way, I just released a YouTube channel member and Patreon only members video today. So check in on that after the show if you haven't already seen that. We do a monthly show journal. You get a couple extras for throwing a couple of bucks in our hat. We thank all of you for helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Yeah. Praise the cash, friends. We're having a great week of praising the cash here. Dizzy Blonde, we would rather support your efforts than worry about gifts. Well, that's interesting. Thank you. Cambian, dripping is an American slang term for style. Funny, I'm American and I've never heard drip used by any American. It's always a foreign person that tries to school me on American slang, though. Stylish clothing, special sort of cool, like clean hats. Okay. Elmer Boilerhouse says, why hasn't Tracy Dolan remote viewed the outcome of disclosure and saved us all the trouble? Exactly. A very good point. UFO Sunset is here. I think they have a show. You should check it out. It's UFO Sunset. Go check them out. Yeah. So thanks for not making content praising the cash. Okay. John Doe, we do make some extra content to try to praise the cash. Yeah. And so, gee, I don't know what to say about the rest of the week here because I'm under some severe time and family constraints. So I don't know what the show schedule is like. For the first time in a long time, I have some, sort of personal things going on, and I have to, I most likely have to take tomorrow night off. But, we like to do at least 3, hopefully more shows a week. So I will be back. I may be going to the cabin early this week due to some time constraints and some things going on. My son has a karate tournament on Sunday, and I have to go to that, which means I would have to come back from the cabin a day early. So I'm not quite sure what's happening. I may be here tomorrow night. I may not. But follow me on Twitter at Stephen Cambian, and you'll know for sure. You can also join our Discord server if you like these live chats and chatting with like-minded strange people. And by the way, I like strange people. I'm one of those weirdos. You can join our Discord server. Instructions are in the description of the video. I usually announce the live shows in the Discord server and the Twitter as early as I can. As soon as I know about them, I post them there. So be sure to follow me on at Stephen Cambian on Twitter. It's the best place to know what's going on with the live shows. Also, if you haven't already, please do smash that subscribe button. If you're tired of these same old scammers pulling the same scam with little differences, over and over again, the scam is they're fake stories. They're evidence-free fake stories, or they're based on false evidence, which is really ridiculous. Videos of flares that you can claim are alien spaceships, videos of, balloons that you can claim are jellyfish aliens, and more. It's absolutely ridiculous. If you're tired of that, but you are interested in these topics and you want to get to the real truth behind the deceptive layers of lies that these people use to sell their fake stories, please do me a solid and smash that subscribe button. We're really trying to expand the show, and we appreciate your support. We want to thank Trolly Troll for a kind and generous $5 super chat, who says, keep it up, Stephen, and we will. And thank you for 2 things, Trolly Troll, being a member and also being a longtime show supporter, and I guess 3 things, and this latest support that you've sent us. Thanks for helping us, too.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
All right, friends. So I'm going to bounce on out of here. We have done our due diligence. I'm going to figure out what the hell I'm doing for the rest of the week. I do have this next episode of Murder in UFO Land ready to roll. I was going to do it today, but then this podcast dropped, and I started listening to this, and I said, no, I got to talk about this tonight because the grifters, we grifters are back. I can't believe that these, normal people have shame. And when you get caught selling a completely and totally fake story for almost a year now, the Grusch narrative, most people have some shame. These guys are only ashamed for a little while, they go away and then they come back with a new grift. That's what they're working on now. They're working on what the new grift is going to be for them. So remember, friends, I wrote on Twitter today, just another reminder, nothing but excuses from stupid people for why it's been 330 days and Dave Grusch still can't show us any evidence of his fantastic claims. Don't worry, though. All his UFO grifter scumbag friends made plenty of money selling his stories. And isn't that the important part, right? It's not about disclosure. It's not about the truth. It's about how many UFO dollars you can stupid people click on your stupid evidence-free spooky story videos. And that is, I just can't believe that this is going this long, right? I can't believe that it took a year for everybody to start realizing, oh, this guy's only got stories and he has absolutely no proof or evidence of his claims. Oh, he's full of shit. Like all of the people that George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell promote, like the spooky Skinwalker scam crew, like Bob Lazar, the fake convicted pimp, liar, fake scientist that they pretended worked for the government, but they can't prove shit. You gotta love it. It's a grifty world, right? And it also, it's a big club, friends, and I ain't in it. So the unwritten rules of the grift squad, which is you can't tell people that stories are fake, even if you're sure they are and you have evidence that they are, because that screws up the grift for all of us. All of that evidence, all these evidence-free stories are just becoming increasingly more and more amusing to me. And as we go on and on, remember, it gets easier and easier to spot a UFO grifting scumbag whore the longer they're in that profession. George Knapp's been at it for a long time, and I could show you all kinds of fake shit that he has promoted and made money from that were evidence-free, spooky stories with no evidence. And of course, Corbell has been here long enough now that he's sold many, many provably fake stories. And of course, my favorite is him complaining in his docu-series that he doesn't get paid for UFOs. Well, we proved that that was completely, totally, factually inaccurate statement. But don't let things, I always say this, don't let things like facts and evidence get in the way of a good story that you could sell, right? I don't know. I continue to be amused by these UFO Grift Squad members and the desperation. They bluff too big. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. This David Grusch evidence-free bluff that has lasted almost a year now is crazy to me. They bluffed all the way to Congress and they had no evidence whatsoever of the claims they were making. And all the excuses, like I said, for Grusch having no evidence all fall apart. It all falls apart under scrutiny. He has no evidence, at least none he can show us, but there's plenty of excuses from you UFO true believers. And, I feel sorry for some of you true believers. I get it. The guy came along and seemed to confirm everything you desperately wanted to believe. But the problem is, you need evidence in order to believe something. At least I do. Stories don't do it for me. They used to. And after a while of observing this whole genre of storytelling and myth making, you suddenly realize, all we have here is stories. We don't have any evidence, or we have shitty evidence, grainy photos and bad videos that look like they were taken on a camera from 12 years ago, a phone from 12 years ago, grainy as shit. It's both disappointing and amusing to me at the same time. And I guess that's what the amusement of watching these clowns continually overpromise, underdeliver, which leads to the inevitable big letdown. And what a big letdown this Grusch story is. Oh no, we're finally getting disclosure. This guy's got the goods. He had nothing but spooky stories told to him by other spooky hustlers, as some people have described this group. It's all the same people selling the same stories, recycling the same old shit. That Kingman, Arizona story wasn't true in the 1950s, and it's not true today. The fact that they go, we found some cans that the Army might have used for rations back then. So that proves that was an alien crash retrieval program that was headed by the Army. What a leap of faith and nonsense that is. But welcome to Clownville, where people like Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp can get caught over and over and over and over again and again and again and again and again to infinity, repeat, selling fake story after fake story after fake story. getting caught selling provably 100% fake stories, overhyping, under-delivering, and bringing us the big letdown. But don't worry, they've always got a new carrot to dangle to keep you clicking on their monetized shit videos. Yeah, so friends, we've done our due diligence. It's really all I have for you. Like I said, I'm not really sure when I'm going to be back, but I promise you I'll be back a few times this week, one way or the other, come hell or high water. I might have to do some morning shows to fit them in, and ask anybody that knows me. I am not a morning person, friends. I am a night owl for sure. But we have to do our due diligence here each week. I got to stay on the YouTube hamster wheel. You got to keep running, or YouTube punches you in the face, right? You got to keep pumping it out. Pump out the content. Yeah. So I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. I want to thank our kind and generous benefactors, you super chatters, Twitch subscribers, PayPal pledgers, all of you kind and generous PayPal supporters, Patreon supporters, YouTube channel members, anybody supporting us. By the way, another way you can support us is to like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos on your social media. Like any good YouTuber will tell you, it really does help. It increases our reach, and we could certainly use your help with that. I see you people retweeting my shows and sharing them on Facebook or Instagram. I truly appreciate it. Please keep it up. So that's all I got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God.
Are we still on camera? No. Good. Aren't they suckers? They give me so much money for putting this shit out.